gonna talk about today, impact of the first round of ARP money, as well as, I think, some new awards, is that correct?
That's right.
And then one of the things that came up in our budget discussion was, equities in our RFP process, and I think, Chief has some slides maybe that he can share with us, some updated slides that maybe reflect, correct data. So, I'm gonna turn it over to Jermaine, and before I do, let me just mention this, for everybody concerned. We're gonna, once we start our 3:30 meeting today, we're just gonna roll right through. We have some that, have some time constraints.
So no recess?
So no recess. We're just
Okay.
gonna go right through. So we'll try to break, early enough to give everybody a little break before we go into.
Go into the three.
And then maybe we'll get out a little bit earlier.
I'm gonna reach over for
Well, I've got this many here. Everybody planning on being in town the week of July the 4th? What?
I'm not.
You will not?
Why, what's the punchline? Is there a party?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out whether we need to cancel our July the 2nd meeting.
Oh, yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's
sounds-
perfect.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Do I have consensus?
you do.
So we will not have, who's our?
Especially, yeah,
we
I won't,
not
I will not,
have
no.
July the 2nd meeting, so Chief make
I won't be here now.
plans
I will
for
let the
no meeting on the
administration
2nd.
I will let
Yes,
the
sir.
administration know. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Chief?
All right. So a couple of weeks ago, as we were going through the budget process, we wanted to sort of follow up and touch on some of the council's questions about the impact of some of our first round ARPA recipients. And so we wanted to use this time today to kind of go through some of those first round recipients, because obviously, what is on your proposed agenda for next week are some new ARPA awards. And so as we shift into those new ARPA awards, we kind of wanted to circle back around and to kind of go through how progress was going with some of our existing awards from 2022. And so I'm grateful for all of the help. A lot of the information that you're going to see was compiled by the finance team, specifically Chelsea Sadler and her team in Grants and Opportunities, who have been helping us to manage all of the ARPA awards for the past almost 2 years now. So today we actually have Kevin Pennington, who's sitting next to Vicky, sitting between Vicky and Javid. Kevin is on the grants team, and so Kevin is a longtime member of the finance team and city government. Kevin, how long you've been working for the city? 7 years, so good deal. So thank you, Kevin, for all your hard work on this. And so if you look here at this slide, this is sort of like a snapshot of the spreadsheet that Kevin and his team use to manage and track all of the programs. This is a snapshot that, of course, there is an actual spreadsheet that has this snapshot of information in it, but there is a high level of detail that is contained in this spreadsheet, and that Kevin and Chelsea and their team are constantly updating every time they have a check-in or a report or a one-on-one with any of our external recipients. As you will remember, this is kind of an overview of the original plan that was approved in 2022. So the city was allocated $38.6 million from the U.S. Department of Treasury. And then we broke off with you all support and made some strategic commitments to homeless prevention and recovery, affordable home ownership, the creation of affordable housing, strengthening early learning systems. And again, all of these grants that have been given to external recipients, this is all now managed and tracked by the city's Office of Grants and Opportunities. And so they provide technical assistance, they help with payment processing, they oversee the reporting and compliance because each recipient is required to report, and they also do the monitoring for 58 external recipient projects. In addition, Chelsea and Kevin and their team also provide technical assistance to the city for the 29 internal city projects that we are also pursuing, and then they make sure that everyone is complying with federal, state, and local compliance of awards. Obviously, the city council also had some ARPA money too. And so they also have some insight into those awards as well. And so the impact areas of public safety, affordable housing, homelessness prevention, early learning, and workforce development and entrepreneurship were some of our key focus areas. And so the external recipient project monitoring is, again, is managed by the city grants team with assistance from an organization called UHY, which is the city's contracted ARPA consultant. And so all recipients who receive ARPA funding are monitored to ensure federal, state, and local compliance. And so each step of the monitoring process is documented. So what you see on the screen today is kind of a sketch of how that process goes. Monitoring begins before award contracts are executed and continues throughout the project period and only ends once the closeout phase is approved by the city. The pre-award phase includes an overall review of the recipient organization and, if required, a federal risk assessment and review and approval of the project scope and budget. Throughout the award process, the grants team and UHY provide technical assistance and training related to reporting, compliance, project management, and more. Each organization participates in an annual in-person site visit or virtual meeting with UHY to review the project and overall compliance. Last summer, UHY traveled to Chattanooga to meet the majority of our recipients in person. Post-award activity that begins after the contract is signed. Each recipient has required quarterly reporting to submit, and all projects must submit a closeout report when the project is deemed complete. As of today, we have about 86% of the external recipient projects are in compliance. About 14%, so about 5 projects, are currently non-compliant due to incomplete Q2 2024 reporting, but the grants team is working with those 5 organizations to bring them back into compliance. This is the recipient reporting process. So former subrecipient organizations, which will be amended to recipient organizations, are required to submit quarterly project performance and spending reporting through the city's grant management system called Amplifund. The city's grant team and UHY review all submissions to ensure federal, state, and local compliance of reported activities and spending. And so that's to make sure that all of the spending and all of the plans itself actually comply with the federal rules and restrictions. Feedback is communicated to the recipients if reporting is not approved. Common reasons for rejected reporting include supporting documentation is missing, or more information is needed about certain expenditures, or an expense is just not allowable under the award. This is kind of a snapshot of what the system looks like that the external recipients sort of complete in the portal. And so this is a screenshot of the performance updates required of the recipients in Amplifund that they have to complete each quarter. And so this is what they have to go in and what they have to fill out. Kevin, anything you want to add on this? Anything to add here? Okay.
Yeah, it's just the metrics.
Okay.
piece of the program. There's a lot more to the program.
Okay. The city, of course, claimed the entire $38.6 million ARPA award as revenue replacement. The city is not required to report to Treasury quarterly on each individual project and project impacts. However, we do require recipients to report on identified metrics that were included in their original project applications as part of their quarterly reporting. The only projects that do not have required metrics are projects that are construction in nature. Now we wanted to highlight and to spotlight some of the projects and initiatives that we feel like have been successful. And a couple of these, we are recommending for additional funding in terms of our resolutions next week. So we are really pleased with the down payment assistance program from the Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise. That fund has helped with down payment and closing cost assistance to low and moderate income Chattanoogans. And so 20 households have been served to date through that program. And so we are recommending, as you'll see on a future slide, an additional $500,000 to continue moving this program forward. You all have now seen multiple presentations on the effect of the eviction prevention initiative by Legal Aid of East Tennessee, and formerly the Community Foundation. And so we are recommending continuing the eviction prevention initiative. As you can see, over 1,074 people have been served to date. And the program management transitioned from the Community Foundation to Legal Aid last year in 2023.
Chief, before you go on right there, I got a question.
Sure.
20 people, $1 million, that's about $50,000 for a down payment each. Isn't that a pretty hefty down payment? Or, I mean, I'm assuming there's a certain
Yeah.
income threshold that we're meeting there. That would be a
Yeah.
fairly substantial
Yeah. Yes.
amount for a down payment.
Well, and I think that that reflects, one, the incomes of the families that are being impacted, and two, the rising cost of purchasing a home in our city. And so there is a need to make sure that the down payment assistance can actually be effective in order to help to facilitate a family actually being able to move into a home. And so, go ahead, Councilman
Does
Ledford.
that factor in also with being, when you said keep them in the home, in conjunction to the amount of the mortgage?
Yes, I believe so.
That would make sense.
Yes, I believe it does. But let's
Yeah.
follow up on that question, because Nicole will actually be here in a moment to help
Okay.
answer that question, but I believe it does.
That would make a lot of sense.
Well,
Yes.
my knowledge of programs like those is that, people can qualify for a certain amount of home that they can afford to purchase. And so those, as far as I'm aware, range from homes that are between $130,000 and about $160,000. And you all are aware there aren't very many homes at those prices available on the market. So these are people that are qualified to be home owners or home purchasers. They just need product to be able to purchase. And so the way that the city designed this particular program, I think they were really looking for some big wins for folks with that $50,000 down payment assistance, which, allows you to take a $150,000 home that you could afford to purchase, and now you have the buying power of a $200,000 home. And I think many more people could have been served if more affordable housing were available, lower cost housing. That said, personally, I'd like to see us look at how we format the next down payment assistant program, because there are ways that we could recycle that subsidy. For example, in a shared equity model, for example, that if a home is sold within a certain amount of time, that homeowner would return a portion of the equity of that home, which we're not really looking at people who are in a position to be speculative buyers within this buyer pool, in the way that maybe some other programs have offered for speculation. But I think if somebody's gonna buy a house and live in it for 30 years, 100% of the equity, absolutely. But if we're giving them a $50,000 down payment assistance and they live there for 5 years, that we have a very limited amount of subsidy dollars. And so I think that would be worth a look as we structure the next, because I'd like us to be looking at how do we make the most of every subsidy dollar that we use. Is there a way that we can recycle that subsidy and use it again and again? And what also are our options for permanent affordability, right? Because we've got pilots that'll do 10 years or 15 years. How do we get it so that the teacher that can afford to buy it now, a teacher 10 years from now can afford to buy, right? Slight diversion, but
No, that's
the details are important, I think, with how we structure these.
super
Well,
helpful.
yeah, otherwise it's just a flash in the pan.
Right, yeah, it's one time, and it made, I remember talking with Nicole about this program, and she was really committed to addressing the One Chattanooga goal of decreasing the wealth gap between white families and black families. And certainly, this puts $50,000 worth of equity into the home of a low-income person who may or may not be a person of color. But it made a difference for 20 families. How might we make a difference for 40 families over the course of 10 years, you know, instead of 20 in the course of 1 year? Just a thought.
So, two other projects that we wanted to spotlight. So we'll start with Launch. We've been really pleased at the work that they have been able to do with the Kitchen Incubator of Chattanooga, which has served 42 underrepresented entrepreneurs. For those of you who haven't been to visit the Kitchen Incubator, I strongly recommend that you do. It is located over near Eastgate, near the Eastgate Library and the old Chattanooga College building, I think. And so it has been renovated. And so you have basically a full-size commercial kitchen, which small businesses who are in the food and beverage space and in the catering space, they are able, well, hey, Martina, they are able to use the kitchen incubator to basically make and prepare food so that they don't have to buy their own kitchen, their own commercial kitchen. And so we are really impressed with the work of the Kitchen Incubator, being able to offer subsidized space support and coaching. I also wanted to invite Mr. Kevin Muhammad to come today to talk a little bit about all of the work that the Community Haven has been doing over in the Bushtown community. And they have obviously been a big partner with the city and in terms of helping us to make sure that we can reduce violence throughout our city. And their work the administration feels like their work is really important at this point in time, especially as we are entering the summer period. And so, Mr. Muhammad, you want to share any additional context about the work that y'all are doing? Why don't you come up to the table?
Yes,
sir.
you always have a seat at the table.
How's everyone?
Good.
Fabulous.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
As we were coming in here, I looked kind of at a plaque that you all have when you're walking in the door, as part of your mission statement. And it says, number one, significantly reduce crime to make Chattanooga a safer community to live, work, and play. And that's the work that we're involved in, is making Chattanooga a safer community to live, work, and play. Just very briefly, for just a few seconds, we've been involved in this work for over 35 years. We started out in the Boone High single area, which is now Harriet Tubman, and rid that community of drugs. We moved to your district in 2015 in Alton Park, where we started and partnered with Westside Baptist Church, Pastor Carruthers, and changed that whole community, that whole environment. And that's where we started our actual patrol, purchasing old police cars, revamping them, equipping them with tracking devices and other things, and changed the whole Fagan Street and Doris Street. And at 38th, and unfortunately, we're not there anymore, and they're asking for us to come back, which we're hoping we can do that. So we moved out into the Bushtown area, where our primary work began with Councilwoman Noel.
So glad.
And we've continued that work on 5 acres of land at a piece of property that was formerly St. Francis Catholic School, then a work release center, and now we've turned it into our headquarters. So let's talk a little bit about what we've been able to do and actually expand what we've already done, because there was so much that we were doing prior to this. And now with the award, we were able to expand our reach and do a whole lot more. We started with just a basic strategic plan where we mapped out a certain area of Bushtown. We looked at that area and we mapped that area out. And we looked at crime stats that we get from the police chief. We looked at every street. We mapped out, we have a war room with maps on the wall. And we identified every street that's in that community, every intersection that's in that community. And we actually have a barcode system where on every intersection where there's a pole or there's a tree, we put a barcode system on that pole or on that tree. And our patrol people actually have a phone system where they're able to do a video or photo of anything that's going on that street and barcode it, and it will identify what that problem is that goes back to our dispatch system. So we probably have 100 of those just in the Bushtown area alone. And we've identified over 421 pieces of property in that area. And we actually have mapped out every block of that particular area. And we actually know who owns every piece of property, whether it's vacant, whether it's abandoned, whether they're renting, who lives there. And we go through that whole process of meeting and talking with those residents. So just in the first year alone, in that particular area of Bushtown, crime was reduced by over 12%. In 2003, according to data that we have directly from the police department, there was not one shot fired in Bushtown area in all the 23. Our patrol, he's chief of our patrol, where we have a patrol that actually, our vehicles, all of them have a 360-degree cameras in them. All of them have GPS tracking, where we know exactly where our patrol people are all the time. We have 3 ways of tracking them. GPS in the car. If they get out of the car, all of our patrol people wear body cams. All of our patrol people are unarmed and gone through training, certification through the state of Tennessee. Some of them go through the police academy. We have a working relationship with the police chief where we meet monthly with Chief Murphy and her staff at our headquarters and the patrol people who patrol that area. And we've actually mapped out, and it's not an adversary relationship at all. It's a true partnership where we partner with the police chief on what's happening because we're strictly preventive. We've worked with the police department to assist them in a number of fights that have taken place, stranded vehicles, you name it, we work directly with them. Our patrol people also, like I say, they have a phone system, they have lights, they have sirens. We have a dispatch system where we have a command center inside of our office where you can actually watch it and monitor and track vehicles and see the security. We've put out over 500 yard signs in that particular area. And one resident talked about how she used to get an email from the city of Chattanooga or the police department that talks about the number of calls they would get. In 1 month after us putting out the signs, she noted that it went from over 200 calls to under 20 calls because we're actively there and watching everything that takes place.
What are the signs?
The signs basically say community patrol. They've got our logo on it. They've got a phone number that you can call in case you need assistance or help.
Okay.
And we put them on all major streets in Bushtown, and residents who allow us to put them in the yard, we put them in their yards. So it makes them feel safe, you know, and our councilwoman can tell you how thrilled the residents are about what we're actually doing in that neighborhood because we're empowering them. What are some of our accomplishments? As you saw, over 7,100 people served. Last year alone in 2023, we employed 31 people. We had over 31 1099 contractors because there's also a construction piece to what we've been doing through an allocation of $150,000 where we actually built a multi-purpose building where we do workshops and seminars. We've built a library where we've partnered with a resident who has supplied us with books and everything for our library to attack the 3rd grade illiteracy or literacy rate. Because we also have partnered and adopted Archinab Middle School, and we've adopted Archinab Elementary School. So in the summer, we have what's called Camp Haven. We have a session for boys, we have a session for girls that come from Archinab Middle School. We teach them life skills. Some of them have never been zip lining. We take them zip lining. They've never been whitewater rafting. We take them whitewater rafting. We take them to visit African American Museum. We just teach them a lot of skills. We also have a girls' academy. And in that girls' academy, we teach young girls. We take them to Washington, D.C. We've taken them to Charleston, South Carolina. We've taken them to the Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham. They're going to Florida next week. They actually camp out on our grounds where we have built tents for them. They didn't want to sleep on the ground, so we've got them some air mattresses. And they didn't want to sleep on the ground, teach them how to camp. We actually have a camp going on right now, and one of the things we do with camp is, we've had over 60 vendors that we have had work done there under $600, because we seek out those vendors who can't get the big contracts to do the work, where they may have $1,000 or $2,000 to put some sheetrock up, or to do some plumbing and things like that, that they can't qualify to get the big money. So we seek them out, so we can help them, because that $2,000 or $3,000 means a lot to that small contract. And we've been able to give 31 of them 600 or above, and over 60 of them under 600. Also, we have a summer program where last year, 50 of our young people went through our job training program, where we career development, job training, mock interviews, how to start your own business. And at the end of that, we gave all of them a $300 stipend and showed them how to open up their bank account. We actually have a class going right now where we got over 31 of those in class right now. You can come by tomorrow if you like, between the hours of 10 and 2 to see that class that's taking place. We employed 11 of them last year. And after we worked them through the summer, each of them received nearly $2,000. And we're looking at employing another 10 of them. We've had back-to-school bashes where we partner with Carver Center, Avondale, East Chattanooga, Glenwood with our seniors. Gosh, we've done so much that I really could take a lot of your time talking about everything we've done in the past year and a half, and looking at expanding, actually, because now Churchville is looking for us to come to Churchville, which we have a 4-year plan. Zone 1, year 1, Zone 2, which is from City Code to 3rd Street, Dotson to North Archer Knob, Zone 2. We partner with the 423 Chain Breakers with the City of Chattanooga. We have a very good working relationship with Chris Sands in their office. And in Zone 3 that we frequent in Bayberry, when you look at the 23, 24 numbers for juveniles, crimes against persons has been reduced by 37%. Crimes against property reduced by 60%. Crimes against society by 56%. And all of these are stats that come directly from the Chattanooga Police Department and what they're tracking, and the relationship with Judge Phil Yard at the juvenile detention center. So I'm sure I'm leaving out some things, probably leaving out a lot, but those are just some of the things, yes.
Let me say this, Brother Kevin, it's, I think it's an unfair assessment of folks when they say the only thing they do is security, but I know personally, holistically, you look at the community and all the things you've done as far as changing the, I guess, life skills of kids, feeding the community.
Absolutely.
And I applaud that, along with the security, let me throw that in again.
Yes,
But,
yes.
continue the good work. I see measurable results too for what you do, man.
Thank you.
It's you can see those tangible results in a lot of men out here. They said, man, I've been over there and they changed their lives. And,
Absolutely.
And the kids, I can tell from the program this summer how you guys work with them as far as giving the skills, as far as working skills. And just keep up the good work.
Thank you,
guys.
thank you. And you just brought to my mind something I did leave out was our manhood training facility. We have a manhood training facility because a lot of times when we're in the community, we have young men who want to get out of what they're doing, but they don't have anywhere to go. So there's a house right next to our property that we lease currently as our manhood training facility, and we're able to allow them now to stay in that facility on a transition basis so they can get a job. We actually employ a lot of them to come over as a transition to help them find another job, and then transition some more young men in that as well. Our Feed the Community program is going on right now as we speak, where we actually work the largest free produce provider in the black community through the food bank, where we delivered over 1 million pounds of free produce to our community at no charge at all. And these are things that it's important to note that we were doing prior to ARPA, that we basically were funding out of our own pocket, and we kind of ran out of lint in our pocket. It's all gone now. We can't even get lint now, to where in order to continue these programs, Mayor Kelly saw, and Mayor Kelly has frequented us and has seen the work that we're doing. Of course, our councilwoman is always there. And when we were there, always there, seeing the work that we do. And some people are not as familiar with the work we do. And some of the older council people who have been here a while may have been familiar with Kevin Muhammad and sometime an adversarial relationship because of the fight and the passion that I have in our community that I've seen over the years that have been neglected. And I continually bring that to our community and I'm to the council. And I must admit that Mayor Kelly is the first mayor who has actively embraced what we're doing and has seen the benefit of what we're doing. And that's a relationship that this council hopefully will continue to fund, you know, so that we can actually take a different approach to what we're doing when the traditional approach has not been working.
Let me get around, Councilwoman Dotley, did you have, did I see a hand up a while ago?
Oh, I did. I just wanted to say, I'm just glad that, Brother Muhammad is here. I do remember way back and doing the free produce and all the
Yes.
things, and to see, I was excited when I saw your, opera award came through when we first started, because I knew the work. I saw what you did on West 38th
Right.
Street, the patrol cars, all the community garden that we still have going.
And we have that now.
Yes, and we still, and some of the seeds you left in South Chattanooga, and y'all still have presence there.
Yes.
And so I am just excited that I got a chance to see it beforehand, that when I was on council, to be able to advocate and actually support
Right.
somebody that I knew was doing a good job with $0.
Absolutely.
And so excited to continue to support you, and just, I'm excited. Look
Thank
at
you,
us.
thank you, absolutely.
Right out of Olive Park. Look at
Absolutely.
that.
And may I note one thing, Mr. Chairman? That, Chief of Staff, he talked about compliance. Our compliance, we have with us our compliance manager that is here as well. Our compliance, when this first started, was noted by the compliance department as one of the best, and they actually asked us if they could use our model of reporting as the model that they would adopt, and actually built the Amplifon relationship with, because that's a similar thing that we were already doing with our accounting, because of our accounting, our extensive accounting background that we bring to the table.
Councilman Ledford?
Thank you. Kevin, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
You have been around to this council, I know, in the past. You've told us this would work. I remember that it came from, you said, I promise you this will work.
Absolutely.
You said you had a solution for us.
Absolutely.
We talk a lot about impact on what is done with dollars, and it looks like that you are making a incredible impact. So thank you. I feel, I know you have some big fans in the room, and I feel better educated about what you're doing.
Right.
And I think that the word community haven, well, you really hit the nail on the head there.
Yes.
You really picked a great name.
Yes.
From what I see comprehensively. Couple quick questions for you. Are you tied in, and when you're talking about the cameras and what, are you tied into the city's Arctic
No.
at all?
No.
Okay.
We're not tied in.
Are
This
they
is
able to
something-
see what you see?
No, this is
No.
something we developed ourselves.
Okay.
So we're not tied into that system, and I don't even know if we're allowed to tie into that system
I
because
don't
of
either.
what,
Yeah.
you know, some
We-
legal requirements
I
of
think-
what City of Chattanooga does.
actually-
I don't know.
I think actually we can get you tied
Okay,
in.
that would be even, that would be
Wouldn't that be
great.
interesting?
Because at one point in time, we had.
I did a
Yeah.
ARPA allocation for that very thing.
Yeah, that's right. And
You did, didn't you?
the Dragonfly system was supposed to serve that specific purpose.
That would be great, because there's a number of those cameras in our area that we see, but we're not able to, see into those systems. So that would be a great addition if we were able to do that,
Well, good.
real time.
Let me suggest, Councilwoman Dotley, you're public safety chair now, you might could follow up. You might could follow up.
There's your first assignment. You're welcome.
There's your assignment.
You're welcome.
Like, sure am.
Stick around, I'll have something for everybody. You have body cameras, I'm assuming those are the Axions.
Do you have one on with you? No, sir. You have it with you? They are Axions.
Are they items that you purchase?
We purchased.
Individually? Are you able to purchase them through our sources? I'm sure there's a cost savings somewhere. Is that even legal? I'm getting.
We could we can discuss.
Okay.
I think we just need to verify whether or not that's allowable.
Right.
So Vicky, we could, if you'll make a note, we can follow up with, Ms. Talley afterwards.
Yeah, all of my questions are rooted in whether it's legal or not, so
Right.
there's, but I have like plethora of ideas. It's
Yeah, I
sometimes-
understand.
Sometimes they're not, they're not.
Right, and those we purchase mainly for our protection as well. In case anything happens, we have that system and it goes into our system.
That was my next
Right,
question.
and
You
so
keep
we
the
have a
data.
company, that we utilize. We have a company called Guard Matrix that we utilize for our phone system. We have another system that we utilize for our GPS. We have another company that we utilize for our body cams. And all of those are reputable companies that we're able to pull up any footage that store it on the cloud.
Yes, yes.
And we're able to pull up that footage from day one
Okay, so
of what.
none of it goes away. It's
None of
essentially-
it goes away,
Yeah, that's awesome.
right.
Thank you. That's really what I had operational wise. I've enjoyed listening to your presentation.
Thank you.
I thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks for having us.
Councilwoman Nolan?
Yes, is everybody finished? I'm just gonna bring up the rear on that.
Here you go.
All right, so, thank you, Brother Kevin Muhammad. I'm telling you, the whole system is amazing. You just baked a mile-high cake in here, so I'm gonna put the icing on it, okay? So what I wanna say, every Brown said of that $1 million that was awarded last year, it has been worth it. The fact that my constituents, our constituents have called me. They have said how happy they are, how safe they feel to sit on their porch, to get up in the middle of the night and go to the restroom and look out their window and know that their corner is not hanging out, or loud music, or foul language, bikes have not been taken, cars have not been broken into. When I get phone calls like that, because as a rule, we don't hardly call people when things are good. We call when we want to complain. But when you get those type of calls, that let me know that every Brown cent was worth it. And I'm going to fight until the last breath within my body. And I got a lot of body here, a lot of it. That we're going to see that we can keep you where you need to be and get you where you need to be in this budget here. And if that means, I'm seeking out funding elsewhere as well for this. So I'm very appreciative. I'm thankful for my council family. And I would appreciate if we would continue to work together and make District 8 the great District 8, because when you can cut down the crime in any part of District 8, we are really the highest crime district in this city. So when we can come back that and cut that down, then we are doing good. We all gonna get the stairway to heaven from that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Kevin,
Yes.
I'm Jenny, and don't think that we've had the opportunity to really spend a lot of time around a table together. And as one of the very young council members, I have not had the opportunity to spend several hours with you at Community Haven, and that will become a priority for me in the coming months. Thank you very much for the work that you do.
Thank you.
We were just discussing some of the housing subsidy that we did with first round of ARP, and I brought up the point about how I'd like us to be looking at how we recycle subsidy, how we are able to continue seeing ongoing impact, not just one-time impact. So you mentioned that, and I didn't write them down quick enough, that you've worked in neighborhoods in the past and you saw significant crime reduction. Talk to me, but then some neighborhoods want you back because it sounds like maybe crime is coming back. So talk to me about the impact or effect of helping neighborhoods where you have intensive work start standing on their own 2 feet to implement some of these things in a grassroots level without the intensive. Is this something that we need in these neighborhoods for the next 50 years?
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're not gonna get better, we're just always gonna
Well,
have to,
we're going to get better. However, it takes a commitment, a financial commitment. from our government. Because most of the crime that takes place in the areas where we serve are economic crime. When you look at the stats of what's happening here, you're looking at auto theft, you're looking at robbery, you're looking at larceny, you're looking at an area in particular in the Bushtown, Churchville area that has no grocery store.
All right.
Family Dollar just closed down a week or so ago. The next Family Dollar in Wilcox has closed down just recently. The Food City on 23rd Street has closed down. So now the people in that area are in a food desert, and the only stores that they have to frequent are stores that sell alcohol, cigarettes, lottery, and outdated food.
So acknowledging those realities, are we to, as leaders, Councilwoman Knoll has said, let's make District 8 the great District 8. Are we as leaders to take that to mean that there is no hope for District
No.
8? And that if we don't have
No.
intense 500 signs planted by your staff versus a graduating out into a neighborhood watch, so that then we take your intents to the next neighborhood, within your 4-year plan, which sounds remarkable. I'm just wondering, I will say, I'm not trying to find a way to not do this. I'm thinking that 61% of our city budget goes toward our health and our safety, right? Our police and our fire budget, right? And $1 million is something that you all are able to do much with. And that as a government entity, we aren't always as able to do as much with $1 million, right? Like there's significant ROI. So what I'm trying to better understand, and hopefully will, as you and I get to know each other better, is how are you building a clock so that as you are intensely supporting and patrolling a neighborhood, are you preparing that neighborhood to carry on the work as you move to quadrant 3?
So
See what I'm saying?
Let me share with you what we would do with that $1 million and I'm not throwing shade on Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise. Rather than give 20
We do
people.
very different work.
Rather than give, I'm telling you what what we would do. Because you're asking.
Or you have done,
No, well-
well, you've had $1 million.
Hear what I'm saying? I'm asking your question. I'm answering your question. And I'm moving you forward in our thinking,
Okay,
okay? Because on this 421 properties, we've identified at least 23 vacant lots that are along City Co Avenue alone. Which leads to crime, which leads to blight, which leads to neglect. $1 million for the Chattanooga Enterprise to help 20 people, we could probably help 3 times as many more people with that. How? Because we will buy up that land. We will buy up every single one of those empty lots. We would leverage that now as an asset. We will borrow on that, and we would make housing not affordable, but we would make it for lower income, because affordable is not affordable for the people who we serve. $200,000 house is not realistic for the community that we serve. The community that we serve needs a $10,000 lot that we purchased. It takes $50,000 to build it, and we could sell it for $100,000.
is any of that realistic numbers?
Absolutely realistic numbers. I do this. I've managed money for my whole life. I've managed $1 million business for my whole life. It's realistic because we will find the contractors, just like we were able to put 31 contractors and 60 that's a total of 91 contractors that we were able to put money into their hands. That was over 31 people we employed. That's 120 people who we affected
So you
with $1
would,
million.
so you would spend $60,000. I mean, $50,000 affected 20 people with $1 million. I don't want us to get into a back and forth
So
about
just
one
as you were,
organization
but
versus
just
the
as you
other.
were saying, we need to leverage that more than 20 people.
Right,
You're
but your
absolutely right. We
numbers are
leverage it with about
$10,000.
50 people.
But you're $10,000 a lot and $50,000 a house.
Yeah, you're
If that is
nitpicking.
realistic, that is less than 20 people out of $1 million, right?
So right
So
now,
which-
you're kind of nitpicking right now, because,
Likewise.
just like, yeah, because.
I thought we could, I mean, I hope that we'll work
I
together,
mean,
but
we
I just
can
don't.
work, we can work together.
I don't like
but-
one
but-
organization pitted against another one.
I mean, you've taken it off track.
Can I jump in here, Mr. Muhammad? Thank you.
Absolutely.
The nature of your project was related to public safety.
That's all it was.
And so you all have done an amazing job helping us in our public safety efforts over in Bushtown, which is why the administration is proposing that we provide some additional funding to help you continue that work.
And you will get a better return out of that in the next year.
And we appreciate that. If no one else has anything else, I want to give Martina a chance to talk a little bit about what CNE is doing before we go, because we funded them specifically for home ownership, which is something that the Community Haven doesn't do. And so they are helping us in our affordable housing work. So Martina can come up and talk a little bit to provide a little bit more context on the down payment assistance program. But thank you, Mr. Muhammad.
I appreciate you, Jermaine, and I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Chairman, for
Yes,
the
sir.
time. I appreciate everyone at this council for listening, and we hope to see you again with even a more positive report.
Yes.
Thank you, Brother
Appreciate
Muhammad.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So Martina, we touched on the down payment assistance program right before you walked in. That's okay.
I was
And
trying
so-
to raise more down payment money, so I was meeting with the bank.
And so, just like we are proposing to provide some additional resources to Community Haven for their public safety work in Bushtown, we are also proposing to provide some additional resources to CNE for the down payment assistance program, which again is a tremendously important part of the One Chattanooga plan, because it does help people to move into homeownership, which is a cornerstone in our country of creating wealth for your family. You want to shed a little bit more context on the down payment assistance
Yeah,
program?
I'm happy to. Thanks for having me, everybody. So, with the $1 million in ARPA funding that we received last year, in addition to $500,000 that was allocated through general funds, gosh, I guess it was FY '23, when we decided to internally reserve that for down payment assistance program. We've to date helped 28 families, and we still have enough for one more loan. So we've spent all the money. We were nervous at first, as everyone knows, availability of housing at a price point that's affordable, or any price point actually, it's not even an affordable issue, has been limited. There's been as few as 7 houses on the market that our buyers could afford. But interestingly, it's been a pretty steady pace. January, there was, product came on the market and we did a flurry of 4 or 5 loans in a month. Slowed down, we're seeing it pick up, so we're just kind of seeing ebbs and flows. So 28 loans, we started the program a year ago. July 1, I believe, we had in June of this year, just about a year ago, there were like 700 people that came to the community center, and a lot of interest. So I pulled some stats because I just think this is really interesting and it tells you the kind of people that this program is helping. Average age is 39 and a half, but the youngest is 19.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And a family of 3, a guy with his girlfriend and baby, and bought a condo for $118,000. So I was like, wow, that's really amazing. But even more cool, the oldest, 78.
First time
A
home
woman,
buyer?
first-time home buyer, and huge champion, talks about how CNE has changed her life. So I always say it's never too late for anybody to get into home ownership. The average income is $42,000 a year. Average household size is 1.7. So there are 15 single female households and 13 households that are two or more people. So this is really helping single people, I think, create a life for themselves in the future. Another fascinating statistic is 13 of the 28 buyers are high school only graduates.
Wow.
So when we think about wealth building and and the statistics are, if you need 1 more year of post high school in order to gain substantially more income in your life, For folks that don't have that,
Yeah.
this is an opportunity to build wealth as a homeowner. 13 high school graduates, and another 5 only had 2 year. And 5 had BA and only 1 graduate. So this is really serving a group I would say usually is one of the hardest to serve. And then statistically, 70% of our buyers are African American. So the last time I looked at the HMDA data, and HMDA is a mortgage company or a bank has to report all of their lending data, demographics, and this was several years ago. Chattanooga's lending rate to African Americans was about 6%. So I would say this program, and then the homeownership rate of African Americans, Chattanooga is about 30%. So the fact that we're able to serve 78% or 70%, I would say this is really one of the purposes of this program is really serving people that aren't getting served through traditional lending markets. So,
Martina, can we ask you a question?
yeah, so,
So right before you walked in, some of the council people sort of asked the question of, is there a way to sort of scale the program, given the fact that 28, I think you reported 28 households. 28 households is obviously incredibly impactful for those 28 households. But is there a way to have more scale, or otherwise the impact becomes somewhat limited? And that was the question that was
Can we
asked.
recycle, like
Yeah.
with a shared equity model or something like that?
yes. I would say there's a couple of things. One, shared equity, I think, is that when, as a public agency, as you're thinking about how do you preserve public dollars, and if somebody can get into full equity home ownership without help, I would say go for it. I mean, that's the way it should be. But if you're looking at how do your dollars today work in the future, there are models like a community land trust where you buy a home today, and when it's resold to somebody that earns the same income level. So at 80% today is 80% in 20 years, and you don't have to resubsidize it. I won't go. We can do a whole workshop on how that works.
When you further break down that 70% that's allocated to, or that the African American community has, what as far as male, female, what's the percentage of that, or the raw numbers?
I will say it's predominantly female. There were a couple of intact two family. I think the numbers were 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, actually, fascinating, 3 of our buyers were less than 30% AMI, which is, I mean, $17,000 or $18,000. Now, one of those, the sister helped the person buy the house. She owned the home. She gave him a deal, developmentally disabled. 7 were at 80%, and I'm sorry, 60%, and then 8 were at 80. So again, really hitting groups. Lowest income, it was about 23,000, and that was a family of 2, and then the highest 61,000, and that was because we used ARPA dollars. The ARPA went up to 100% AMI, and that was also a family of 4.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to your shared equity, yes, Jermaine, there's a way. There are a lot of different models. I've administered them in different parts of the country. You can use a mortgage instrument where you get a share of the appreciation. Interestingly, I'll just tell you an anecdote. I was talking to a friend of mine that works in LA, and she worked for me, and we did a shared equity program there. So when we start, and this gives you an idea of forward thinking, and I know sometimes you just think in 1 year or 2 budget cycles. When I started in LA and we did a shared equity program, the amount of money that was needed to help a home buyer was $30,000. By the time I left, it was $150, and that was in 2006. That number is now $350,000. The city of Inglewood helps 6 people a year with $350,000. But interestingly,
Well, they're $1 million houses.
Yeah.
Because the property has gone up. And
But I mean, so how do you help people with home ownership at that point? But interestingly enough, when the shared equity, so that $30,000 at 25% of the equity paid back, the $1 million houses, imagine how much money the city's getting repaid to help the next
to
person.
go back into the program. Right.
And the buyer is also getting 75% of the $1 million. So it's a win-win.
So they do have generational wealth building.
Yes,
with
and so
it.
I think the public policy is always what's fair. And that's,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the issue, to figure out what's fair going forward,
What
so.
else you got? We're gonna need to take a break.
Okay, thank you, Martina. We appreciate that.
Thank
and
you.
Can I
for
just say
coming.
one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I've been working on this manufactured housing project, which you all hear about, and I'm really excited. But it's interesting because just the building materials to build an 800 square foot house is $54,000.
Just
So
building
I'm gonna circle back with Kevin Mohammed and brother and see if we can, because if he can build houses as he says he can, it's cheaper than what we're looking at, and I would love to partner with him, so,
That'd be amazing.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you. So, just wanted to touch on a couple and then I'll be done, Mr. Chair. So Purpose Point Learning Academy was another, recipient. They were originally awarded, $750,000 during the first iteration of ARPA. And then council approved an additional award of $150,000 to bring them up to $900,000 for the expansion of their childcare facility over at Mount Canaan Baptist Church on Highway 58. The Enterprise Center is still, they have done a little bit of a pivot with their project, in that now they are using their award to leverage high-speed internet connectivity on the west side as part of West Side Evolves. Their commitment as part of that project was leverage that we could use, that the Housing Authority was able to use in the Choice Neighborhood Grant to HUD. And so they will be providing public access Wi-Fi at the new James A. Henry Building, and are looking to provide high-speed internet in some of the multifamily housing that will be created by Columbia Residential. And then the AIM Center, of course, is supportive housing for the Aspero project. They are looking to break ground this summer. And then Greater Tucker Community Development Corporation, this is Tucker Baptist Church. This is their affordable senior housing project. This is one that slowed down a little bit because they were really hoping that as part of their capital stack, they would have access to low-income housing tax credits. Unfortunately, they weren't successful in their first application for LIHTC funding, but they are continuing to pursue LIHTC funding this year. And so we are standing by to see how things go with them. Councilman Ledford, did you?
When did we first see a sparrow? That feels like it was 5 or 6 years ago.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Their
So it's-
capital stack's been tough.
Yeah, their capital stack has been, I want to say that it was 2019.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, pretty
yeah.
bad,
They
been a
had
while.
trouble with LIHTC.
And so, this is my closing slide, Mr. Chair. So these are the additional funding that we're recommending. And so we've got, some down payment assistance program money for C&E, additional support for Community Haven, additional support for the Eviction Prevention Initiative, and additional support for the Aspero project. And then we have some new projects, the Child Savings Account program for Chattanooga 2.0, the Home Energy Uplift Program, which provides energy retrofits for low-income families by EPB, and then the Harvest Inclusive Playground with the Chattanooga Kiwanis Youth Foundation, and I know we had a great event this morning.
We sure did, Jermaine. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And that is all that I have, Mr. Chair. Tried to wrap up.
Chief, thank you. I
Yes.
think we need more of these spotlights.
Yeah, they're really helpful.
I felt like it was helpful, especially for me, for a couple of these projects to see the impact. So we'll get together and
Okay.
start lining up some spotlights.
Okay.
I wanna make sure I get y'all a break, since we're not taking a break at 3:30. Phil, in 2 minutes or less, give us the ruling on Councilwoman Coonrod's residency.
Yes.
Now we're in an AC.
Now,
Yeah.
it's public.
Yeah, it is.
I just want y'all to make sure everybody's aware.
An order went down at 8:43 this morning, at least in that regard. I think I've sent a copy to all the members of the council at this time. At that point in time, the ruling of the judge was 11 or 12 pages long in regard to all the evidence that was presented during the hearing. The evidence established by the family members of Councilwoman Coonrod that she lives on Moss Street and not in the county. Based upon that determination, the chancellor or the judge at this point in time has issued a ruling that the councilwoman is entitled to stay in her position. They determined that the request for reasonable attorney's fees would be allowed, which is allowed under Tennessee law under 847-121. There's going to be an application for fees in connection with this case that will have to be done within 10 days, and we have an objection to that if they're outrageous. If they're not, then we would agree on the amounts. And then, based upon that, the court has ruled that she is a resident of Moss Street and possesses the qualifications of residency for District 9. So that is involved at this point in time. That ruling went down today, and we will see where we're going from here.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you, Phil.
We will see you at 3:30.
All right.